Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Melbourne Traditionalists podcast, episode 69. And no snickering at the back of the class. Now, I've actually had a very good Monday. The rest of the week was all right, but Monday was very good. I got to have a meeting with some members of the Melbourne Traditionalists. Called at very short notice, but it actually took place, and there are about 10 of us, and it's the second meeting for the year. So that we last met in February, and then with everything that's been going on this year, we have finally had a second meeting, which was great. And actually it was great. It was great to see the faces. It was great to actually be in the same room as a group of people. And every Melbourne Traditionalist meeting is great, because we've got quality people, and it's good that you don't have to censor yourself. It's not like it's an extreme expression of view, but even those little things that you hold back in normal times, you don't have to. You're actually free to be yourself, which is increasingly a rare thing in our society. But I also got to talk to some people about the podcast, and they had some very interesting ideas. I had someone say that I should only do a monthly podcast, and I had somebody else say that I should get David Hiscock back, which is an interesting idea. Now that the situation has changed, maybe that will happen in the new year. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to him about it. But one thing that was quite gratifying was that people said that they really enjoyed the podcast, and that they thought it was a high quality, which I'm very happy with. So thank you for those comments. Now, today I'm actually going to be talking about different quotes. So I'm really going to be going through different things that have been said on different websites. I'm going to be reading quite a bit out today, and then commenting on it, and just trying to maybe make some sense of the world that we're in. I got sent a text message earlier today, and without revealing the person or the particular information, he sent me a video about a school that he once attended, and how it had changed. And I wrote to him, everyone and everything is being destroyed, but we are told that it is our individual choice. And if you ask most of the people in the video, they would tell you that this is what they want. And he replied, that's the tragedy. The people there suffer from such acute Stockholm syndrome and are so brainwashed by liberalism that it would be pointless to even bring it up with them. And then I replied, I noticed back in the 90s that people would be given a non-choice, and they would proclaim it as their preference. Women saying, I don't want to get married or have children. Men saying, I don't want a full-time job. I prefer the freedom. It was a lie, as when they got those things, they jumped at them. But at the same time, they would argue until they were blue in the face that was how they really felt. A few weeks ago, I got a comment on the channel basically saying MGTOW is the way to go. So for those who don't know, MGTOW stands for Men Going Their Own Way. And it basically says, hey, don't play along with the feminist women that are around today, and all women are feminists. Just step aside. Just don't be a part of their game. So don't date women. Don't have sex with women. Don't lust after women. Don't hire women. Just do your own thing. Do what you have to do to survive, but make sure that it doesn't involve women. And I've got to say that I totally understand the sentiment. I totally understand where these men, these overwhelmingly young men, are coming from. Women are, in so many ways, toxic nowadays. And that's as a group. But this is the thing. As a group, that's true, but that's not true of individual women. There are lots and lots of really good women out there. And it's connecting to them. And it's one of the reasons that I did the mutual attraction episode, and I wish more people had listened to it. But it's not just, we know why men are attracted to women, but often we don't understand why or what women are attracted to in men. And I think that's one of the problem that the MGTOW guys have, is they're trying to do the right thing and they're constantly being rebuffed, and they don't understand it. And I completely understand that, because I've been there, I've done that. But at the same time, there are things that women do find attractive about men. And that's what men have to do. They have to make themselves more attractive. They can't just step out and pretend that they'll be happy by not engaging in life, because they won't be. There will come a point where you will realise the things that you have missed. The love, the companionship, the sex, the children. These things are all very important. And I really want to say to any man who's thinking MGTOW is the way to go, MGTOW is not the way to go. MGTOW is, maybe you'll find yourself in a position where you're effectively living a MGTOW life, but that's a separate thing. Sometimes in life we fail, but we shouldn't set ourselves up to fail. And men and women are supposed to be together, and there are enormous forces that are pushing men and women apart, and we should not be part of that. We should not be encouraging women to behave badly, and we should not be encouraging men to behave badly. We should be trying to get men and women together, because only one man and one woman together can make the future. And that's what we should be about. Not about the past, even though it's important. Not about the present, even though that is important. But ultimately, our goal should be about the future, because that's pretty important too. Now, I was talking about choices and non-choices, and that's something that we constantly have put in front of us. We know this with the uni party, which is something we see all around the Western world, particularly the English-speaking world, where we get two political parties and, vote left or vote right. And in reality, it doesn't matter who you vote for. It's just the speed at which things change. That's the only thing that changes between these two parties. But so much of the rest of our lives also involves these non-choices. And we have to try and give ourselves as many choices, as many real options as we can. Now, I want to read about, this is from a guy who calls himself Dissension. Apparently he's an Indian in the United States. That's dot, not feather. And sometimes he wrote some wacky stuff, and sometimes he's right on the ball. And on this one, he's right on the ball. Now, the article is entitled "The Connection Between Fake Innovation and Late Capitalism." Have you noticed that every corporation and rich person seems to have unusually high levels of investment in how they are allegedly perceived by the public? But who are they trying to impress? Do average people buy into the bullshit about caring and socially responsible corporations any more than they believe that the HR person at work is on their side? If average people don't give up about the social liberal causes which are heavily supported by corporations, who are they trying to impress anyway? The simple answer is that all of these virtue displays, fake philanthropy and show of social liberalism by elites are about one-upping each other. But hasn't this always been the case? Hasn't the elites of all civilizations throughout history spent too much time trying to one-up each other? So what's different now? Now, I'll read the answer in a moment. But that's a great insight that this isn't about their concern for us. It's about demonstrating to each other just how enlightened they are. Now, here's what he says about the answer. So what is different now? Well, in previous eras, the elites of those societies did not pretend to have reached their positions because they were competent or actually good at whatever they were supposed to be doing. They were quite honest that being an elite was about being born to the right parents, married to the right person, or being good at violence. Consequently, they left the actual work of getting things done to competent people employed by them. That is why, for example, the Medici family of Renaissance Italy stuck to the business of merchant banking and political influence while being great patrons of art, rather than pretending to be great artists themselves. That is also why a lot of the industrial and banking dynasties of the late 19th and 20th century Europe and the USA stuck to their original vocations rather than seriously dabble in stuff which would make them look liberal, hip, or progressive. That's a great insight, that the people in charge, they are there because we live in what is called a meritocracy. But actually, most of them didn't get there because they were the best person for the job. They got there because of something else. Now, in a lot of cases, it's their credentials, right? It's not that I'm a great manager, but I have this bit of paper that says that I'm a great manager. And that's what advances me. That's what gets me into places. I've played the game up to this point, so if you hire me, you can trust me. I'm a game player. I won't buck the system. I'll do what you need done. I'll do what needs to be done. And we see this over and over and over again. One of the things that has always, I guess since the 90s really is when it really came into prominence. Although I remember hearing my parents complain about it in the 70s, is that when you want to complain about something, there's often no one to complain to. So, I thought I'd been underpaid by the government, but actually I was wrong about that. But who do I complain to? I mean, I can call up and talk to somebody, but really they don't have any authority. All they can do is give me information, which is useful, but really, if there was a real problem, who do I talk to? There's no one. And there's a very long and complex system that I would have to then engage to get anything done. I've had the same thing with companies. You get a bill or you get bad service and you're like, well, I'd like to complain about this. What happens to it? Well, sometimes something gets done and a lot of times nothing gets done. And you're left with, well, what do I do? And this is one of the reasons, is because the people who are in charge, well, they don't need to do anything about it. They're so removed from it. All they have to do is say, oh, I care, when in reality, they probably don't. And if they did, again, there's probably not much they could do about it. Now, changing the subject to a subject that we've talked about quite a few times is the US election, the presidential election. This is on a site called Tangled Web, which I must say I do find a tangled site. Sometimes it's really good and sometimes it's really bad. And that's because people on both sides of the political divide write for it. I don't know why they torture themselves, but they do. And but this one's good. It is now certain that Joe Biden will be president of the United States. I've seen nonsense talk of revolution, riots, open insurrection. None of that will happen. People will complain and scream. No one will raise arms. No one will riot, loot, or burn. It's not how things are done by civilized people. There will, however, be no healing, no unity. There will be angst, animosity, and absolutely no trust. The ball is in the Democrats' court. The last time they had this much power, they seized control of 1/6 of the economy with health care. They will finish that now. The question is, what other direction will they push? Fossil fuels will be targeted, but to what extent? Fracking and oil wells on all federal land will end. That can be banked on. It will give an immense economic boost to both the Russians and the Middle East, while destroying the growth of both oil and natural gas. In Pennsylvania, the natural gas and oil industry over the past 4 years has revitalized every area of the state, from the Great Lakes to the Delaware Bay. Rising waters has lifted all ships, but the plug will be pulled, and all those ships will now sit in the mud and rot along with all the jobs they carried. The economic damage is coming by gold and bullets. The fun part will be watching the social damage. Barack Obama had the opportunity to be the greatest healing force in American history and squandered it. Instead, by the end of his presidency, race relation perception was back in the 60s, despite the reality of the world around us. We have turned the levers of power over to the social warriors. They have a list of grievances and demands, along with all the power to implement what they feel the remedy should be, and they have no restraint. There is no equality under the law. They do not recognize it, and so therefore it does not exist. We have no rights. All we have now is what they decide not to take from us. It's going to be very interesting watching to see how far they go. May you live in interesting times. Well, I think, unfortunately, it does look like Joe Biden will be president, either the day or the day after you listen to this, or most of you listen to this. And that will have a lot of consequences. But I also remember back to when the Democrats had the presidency, they had the House of Representatives, and they controlled the Senate. So in theory, they could have passed anything they wanted. But what actually happened was that they fell into arguments amongst themselves, and they actually didn't achieve that much. They got Obamacare passed, and that's a real dog. It's a terrible system, basically forcing people to buy private health insurance, which I must say we also have in Australia, and I also think it's a dog of a system here. There is a comment that I wanted to see. Oh, here we go. So one guy, Column, has said, "You had an election. This time the seated president was defeated by the opponent from the other party. That's all. It happens every now and then. It's routine. It isn't a coup, a revolution, or the end of the United States. You continue to have the same democracy, same rights, and same country as you had the many other times this has happened. In 2 years' time, the US electorate will have the chance to boost or penalise the new president by reshaping the legislature, and in 4 years' time, they can choose to keep or reject him. Nothing unusual is happening in the USA. It's a cycle of routine political life." Well, I think maybe he's gone too far the opposite way, because that assumes that this election has been free and fair. And most people on the right, myself included, do not accept that. And I guess that may be President Trump's greatest gift, that he has actually exposed the system. Now, when I was growing up, and I never hear this phrase now, but when I was growing up, I often heard the phrase, "Justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done." And in the United States, democracy can't just happen, it has to be seen to have happened. In other words, people accept that it is fair, that what happened was justice and it was fair. And most people on our side are not accepting that. They're not saying, hey, this was was fair, and they're not saying this was justice. And it's not simply a case of spoiled grapes, that we don't like the outcome. Well, that's obvious, but it's more than that. Democracy has to be seen to work. It's not just something that is mechanical. It must actually be seen to work. And that's the thing that has failed this election. It has not been shown to work. And I think the Supreme Court has made a very big mistake in not taking on the case that Texas brought forward, and I think 24 other states signed onto, or 24 in total. And, it would have at least appeared that they were neutral, but now it does not appear as if the Supreme Court is neutral. And I guess we did hope that with the changes that President Trump had made to the United States Supreme Court, that things would be better, but that hasn't turned out to be the case. In fact, it seems to be just as much junk as normal, which is a real great shame. Now, sometimes in life we feel richer than other times, and I got a bill on Thursday, my electricity bill, and it says that I am actually using less energy than one person. And so I paid that bill, and then I thought, I really should go pay the rent. So I took a big walk, and I walked to the next suburb, and I paid my rent, and then I came home, and then I had 3 more bills waiting for me. And so I had my gas bill, where I'm more than one person, and I paid that. And then I had my water bill, and I'm not sure where I am there. It doesn't actually tell me. But I paid that, and then I opened the third, and it's my car registration. And it's like $834.80, and I'm like, oh no, I've paid too much today. I can't bear to give any more money away, and of course I now feel very, very poor, and I look at my bank balance, and it's like, actually it's not that bad. But how it is, you just pay so much, and you're like, oh no, I can't bear anymore. So there's my whinge for the podcast. Now I'm going to finish off with a bit of Star Wars trivia. Luke Skywalker was born on an asteroid, but his home planet is Tatooine. Now, the scenes that were filmed, that are set on Tatooine, was filmed in Tunisia, in North Africa. And guess what the name of the southernmost province of Tunisia is? Tatooine. I only found that out about 2 hours ago. All right. Well, I think I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you again next week. Bye-bye, everyone.